Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. Of course, as always, welcome to today's episode of Market Check, brought to you by none other than BB. A reminder, as always, there is no second best daily YouTube live stream to talk about these markets. I hope everybody had a fantastic weekend, whether that was just getting outside and spending time with your family, or maybe it was like what I did, just watching golf all weekend, relaxing, sitting by my computer and hanging out with my family and the charts, I guess. Nothing too out of the ordinary. But yeah, happy to be back as always with you guys. Like I said, happy Monday. Very excited to talk markets with you all. Of course, we also have a special guest today in Nick Cipher. On later in the show. But as you guys know, I'm Snorlax, also known as Tommy. I'm joined by Tucker Jackus and Dr. Will's Outlook, who is masquerading today as the famous insider trader, Nancy Pelosi. But welcome, everybody. I hope you guys had a great weekend as well. Not just the panel, but also the audience. Very big week in markets this week. It goes without saying, right? But real quickly, before we can start cooking, before we can start sharing all of our big juicy alpha with you all, you know what I'm going to ask? I'm going to ask you to smash that like button for us, not just because it's a Monday and the start of the week, but also because we are going to have a special guest for you guys. Of course, we also have some pretty significant market movements occurring this week. I don't remember if we have NVIDIA earnings this week, but I do know that we have the SEC deciding on the ETH ETF later this week, for example. So quite a bit of things occurring throughout this week. Looking forward to it all. But without a doubt, guys, let's go ahead and dive right in, because Bitcoin has been kind of combating 67K for the last few days. This was a level that we pointed out before the weekend as being a level that might be a little bit sticky. And so far it has, proven to be a little bit sticky so far. But I will say above 67K, at least just kind of based on options flow, this is something that we talked about on Friday. Above 67K, the next level to target from an option standpoint, as far as like looking at call premiums, would be 80K. So very big level here for Bitcoin. If we can break it, I think I got a pretty good idea of where we might head to next. But Bitcoin isn't even maybe even the star of this week, because you also have ETH with its much anticipated SEC decision. Will they approve the ETF? Will they reject it? I'm personally in the camp that they will reject it, but I will also say that I don't think it's going to particularly matter, because something that we talked about a lot last week, very in depth, was that at this point, it's probably priced in, right? Like rejection has been priced in by the market for the last few weeks. What is the marginal downside on an official rejection announcement? I guess we'll have to see come later this week, because that's kind of my bias. But I have to say, rejection, approval, delay, I tend to think they'll probably all be bullish ultimately for ETH USD, something that we'll definitely talk about later on this stream. Still a lot of opportunity in altcoins. I know for a fact that we're going to be talking about meme coins. And of course, the way they were kind of derided a bit last week, I think it does, even if you disagree, right? I think it spurs some interesting conversations as far as, observing our convictions and examining those theses, right? So we'll talk about that as well. Okay. Jeff telling me in the comments, NVIDIA earnings are Wednesday after market close. So it's a big week in equities as well, guys. I mean, the last few NVIDIA earnings plays have been pretty vicious to the upside. Will this be similar? Will we miss? I mean, I have to imagine, they might cook the books again. These big tech companies are pretty good about doing that, but we won't know for certain until Wednesday. I'd say that chart looks pretty good, though, just looking at it right now, as well as some other large equity stocks. I think Apple is another one that we've been continuously pointing to as one of these mega cap tech stocks that look ready to really fly potentially. So no, I think Apple looks good as well. And of course, given the context of things like the dollar falling, as well as realized volatility through the VIX, these paint a pretty good picture for risk here into the summer. But I'm not going to yap for too long. Like I said, we will have a guest on hopefully at some point later in this show. And we also got a full panel of guys who have been stirring on information all weekend. So I'm excited for today's show, guys. I'm looking forward to hearing what y'all have to say about the market. So I'll just go ahead and open up the floor. What are we seeing today, guys, throughout these markets?
Who wants to go? Could talk about Total 3 all day here, man. Look at Total 3. This is wild. This is wild. Look at this line. Hang on, boys. Boom.
Yeah,
Look at that. Look at
it's
that.
I think it's even more cleaner on others, Tucker, if you go on others.
Others.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's even cleaner there.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, these both those charts look like they just want to BART upwards, right? Like they just wanna do one of those.
No, it really does. It was a clean. It's a clean bull market. Do not let anyone tell you otherwise. It's a clean bull market, and you just had a small capital. Well, on some tokens definitely larger, but if you look at others, it was a small capitulation on lower time frames in the middle of a bull market. Now you're getting a bottom ranging absorption period, which is hanging or holding very, very well. And as you say, Tucker, it looks like it's ready to bar back up.
Hmm.
Hard to think otherwise. And really, the chart is telling you that.
Yeah, no, I think it looks good. I think it looks good. Tommy, I know you were just kind of stupidly bullish ETH going forward, which was a very drastic change of tune. Uh,
Yes, I'm very bullish ETH. I mean, purely from the perspective, we were talking about the SEC decision last week. It's obviously occurring, I think, on Thursday, maybe Friday. I'm not sure the exact date. The 23rd, I want to say, is when it's happening. But regardless, I mean, the market's been pricing in rejection for multiple weeks at this point. I love to FUD ETH, but I have to ask myself, if they can't break it below 28, 2,900 on multiple attempts, and you've already priced in rejection, what is going to take ETH USD lower? And so I think from that standpoint, I viewed it as pretty good prices on ETH to be bullish from. I don't know if ETH Bitcoin is going lower or not. I think you could definitely still make the argument that Bitcoin breaking out to lead the rally would probably be, it'd probably be bearish ETH Bitcoin in the immediate term. But I think from a USD price standpoint, what we were looking at last week is still valid as long as we're going to continue just grinding higher. And I'm going to continue to point towards the summer 2021 lows. It's a great blueprint for a lot of these altcoins. You just had three tap lows, long lot of ranging after a huge nuke, and eventually after that third tap, you had these slow grinding structures higher, and I think that's what we are seeing in a lot of markets right now. ETH being one of them. So I'm bullish on ETH here over the next few weeks, as long as we're going to keep grinding higher, which I have to say is probably my expectation, given the way that Bitcoin seems to be moving right now. I think Bitcoin's probably not going to give too much of a pullback from here. I'm not going to rule out, maybe one more stab down. No, I don't think we're going to make any more lows on Bitcoin USD, but maybe we get one more stab down towards the low 60s even. I personally don't really assign that much probability to it at this point, given that I think we probably have bottomed on a lot of altcoins, and it does look like we are grinding higher on a lower time frame. So as long as that's the context, I mean, it's kind of very difficult for me to get bearish on the king of altcoins into such a big decision this week.
what do you think about this ETH BTC fractal? Basically from from here. Whoa.
I do not think it fits time wise, but yeah, kind of think we either are bottomed here or it's much lower.
I
But
think if we do go much lower though, Jackus, like if we get some sort of outsized downside towards like 0.04 on ETH Bitcoin, then I think the recovery will likely be a quick one from a timing standpoint.
I think it would, like, at that point, if we are not really holding here, I think the downside would be 0.03. But that's my take. But yeah, so far, listen, we are still in the deviation period or range. So as long as we are holding here, it's fine. And I really like the way that the ETH USD pair is still looking. So I think it's just a temporary weakness. And if you really think about it, we are still trading upwards since like the beginning of the chart, and then since the 2019-2021 bottom, we are still inside of that kind of like a summer East BTC like higher, right? That you can see in the middle of the chart. It was a straight upwards there, which caused maybe you can highlight it, Tucker, in the middle of the chart. There is that huge upside for East BTC.
What, right here?
In summer 2021.
21. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I was just saying that yeah, exactly, that we are still like inside of this. Like this was the impulsive like higher, and all the price action since then is just a kind of like a range, slow bleed in the middle of it. So, to me, the market is still in this sense, it's still trending higher. But if we are not holding right here, context-wise, I think we would be coming back to retest the base of this move higher in the summer of 21.
You guys want to know what I think? No, of course you don't.
What do you
Guess
think,
what?
Will? What do you think?
Well, we
Guess what?
expected you to continue straight.
Usually you don't ask. You just
Yeah,
start.
usually you just tell us.
So I don't know what
Tell
happened
us.
to the comments. It was in there. I think his name was Robert. I found his comment very stunning and brave, asking if we
Brave.
should
You watching
asking
South Park recently, Will?
if we should call the show because altcoins. And I was thinking, I was like, man, this guy's on to something. I'm like, maybe we should call it because smart coins, because we're not holding a coin that's maybe going to 2 or 3x. We're actually making money in the market. So maybe we do need a rebrand, right? But I think people miss the forest through the trees, and they try to be very stunning and brave, and they don't understand what it is to make money on the money side of the market, and then roll that back into the asset of choice, the Bitcoin on the bear side of the market, to kind of lessen that impact of that blow of the downside when the bear market comes back. So it's all about understanding rotations and how to make money and how to not sit in things like SPY and bonds and things that are useless in this market, and actually create wealth. Maybe we should call it because wealth, right? Maybe we should
Because
call it
well.
because wealth.
I like that.
Oh,
BW. But I like the sound of BB.
B-dubs, eh?
B-dubs. Oh man.
Funny.
B-chats.
I tend to always think, like, are people here to make money or to praise Bitcoin? Do they think that Michael Saylor is going to come and bless them with some money if all they talk about is Bitcoin?
You know that people just love to belong into communities. They are not here even anymore for money. I feel like people just want to belong into communities and just keep yelling at each other while their community is better than the other. And most Bitcoin guys, that like the maxis, they are not much different. And it is what it is. As much as I love Bitcoin, most of them will just they have the same herd mentality as any other out there, whether it's and you do not even have to stay in crypto. It can be like TradFi people saying that stocks are amazing, or gold bucks, or whatever.
Yeah, it went from using Bitcoin as a form of way to buy drugs, into using Bitcoin as a world currency, into Bitcoin's the only thing that matters. It just mind boggles me, these stages that we go through as an asset class. And I think that people need to understand, like, if you're here to build friendships, there are much cheaper ways to do that. If you're here to build wealth, there's easy ways to do that. And it's to not follow the crowd. And when the crowd's screaming Bitcoin, 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 guess what? Your wealth gains are already out the window. When ETFs are screaming Bitcoin, 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 where do you think wealth was before ETFs? It was Bitcoin.
I will
Now
say
ETFs are
one
here.
thing about Bitcoin. I think Bitcoin's kind of separate from the rest of crypto in the sense that I think that there are numerous reasons you would want to hold it, right? Like it's, it's not just about returns exclusively, I think, for everybody who holds Bitcoin. But I would say for crypto assets, most people are typically holding those for returns rather than, people love to claim decentralization. And yeah, it's nice to be able to move our money around without, having an intermediary in between. But I think for Bitcoin specifically, I don't want to group it in necessarily as just a way to extract value, because I do think the fundamentals of it are a bit more multi-pronged than that.
But
I
is it?
suppose the problem I have is that you have the majority of people calling like, "Hey, Bitcoin decentralization, Bitcoin this and that," and then 90% of those people hold their Bitcoin on the exchange and just hoping for the price to go up. So
That's true. Yeah.
the
Well,
trouble there.
it's a herd mentality of trying to force you to buy their asset to pump their bags, thinking that
Exactly.
thinking if they yell at everybody enough that everybody will buy their bags and their bags will pump the hardest. In reality, you have to understand when an asset's heavy, it can only pump so much. It doesn't matter how much you scream and everybody jumps in at the same time or not. Like you're only going to go so high before you end up getting absolutely demoed by the whales. And I think a lot of people have a hard time understanding that. So they get into that mentality when in reality, there's better ways to make money in this market when you're on the bull side. And it doesn't mean that Bitcoin isn't an asset of choice or an asset that I dislike, because I definitely like Bitcoin, right? Like I think Bitcoin is an awesome asset. I think it's a very decentralized asset. And I think that people need to understand that. But if you're talking about just pure decentralization, I can get that through putting my dollars in my mattress at my house. I'm decentralized at that point. Government doesn't know what I have. So, like, think about it from that perspective. Like, a lot of these memes that people come up with don't make any sense. Now, can the government come to my house and take it? Possibly, if they know I have it. I mean, they can do the same thing with my crypto. But people will say no, they can't because of the seed phrase and yada yada yada. Yeah, you're right. But if they put me in jail, the seed phrase ain't gonna do me no good. That's the point
true.
at the end of the day.
That is true.
Well, the way I view BTC is really being a digital commodity, and it does offer services that are beneficial to lots of people around the world. And there is a completely different look at it, whether we are, living in the West and using it as an investment instrument. But there are actually people, especially in poorer countries, who are actually using it to benefit their lives. It does help lots of people in energy friendly countries where and it's evolving also the countries in those regions very well. Like for example, you have like mm, and I kind of forget the the name in English, but it's a water energy, where you have water running through it and it
Clean
drains
energy.
the energy. Yeah. And basically what it does, it's only working on like 10% or 20% because the network isn't able to extract more. So what they did is that they used the additional energy to mine BTC there, and it does provide those people in those countries with more with work, with capital, and so forth. So like it's a BTC is like when people say that BTC is heading to zero, so it's just dumb comments. BTC is here to stay. It's solving lots of issues around the world. It will obviously depend on where you live, on the way how you persevere it, and how you use it. But at the end of the day, to me, it's a digital commodity, and commodities can have various use cases. Again, you can use silver as money, as store of value, but you can also use it as a tool in your phones, or you can use it as a jewelry, and there are lots of ways to use commodities. So
Yeah, I mean,
um,
they say a lot of the time, Jack, it's to bank the bankless, right? And I do agree with that in a sense. It is right. It's a way to provide people with a way to move money if they don't have one. And a lot of people don't understand that in itself. It's a way to provide cross-border payments without a middleman. Like these things are real. Those are real things. But if you're in a first world country and telling me it's to bank the bankless and I'm buying it because I'm here to bank the bankless, you're in a first world country, you have banks. What are you
Yeah.
smoking? Like, like third worlds, it makes sense, but like first worlds, it's almost like a grift in some ways.
Yeah, and to be honest, currently, and it's a good thing, but with the rise of cryptos, the banks actually had to evolve. And I'm kind of liking the experience in some degree with lots of them lately. That said, obviously, there are still the restrictions. And I think this will only be bigger as we go, where like banks are forbidding you to send more money than you want to, right? Like if you send more than like 10K, they're going to ask you, hey, where you got the money? Where are you going with it? Or like, hey, we are not letting this transaction go through. And I think these limits will go even smaller, and it's gonna becoming already painful for people. And what I've also noticed is that people actually use, even in the first world countries, they are using BTC for payments for like houses and so forth, where they settle half of the house in Bitcoin and the rest in a bank, just so it's not suspicious. But it's kind of already finding a way in this sense, even in the first world countries. So that's a good thing, and I think this will just need kind of time to settle in, right?
Yeah, we got our guest. We
Right.
got FG
Hey.
on. What's up, bro?
How's it going? Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah.
Yo.
Oh yeah, nice. It's good to be in. Good to meet you guys. I'm a big fan of the channel, man. I popped in and been following a couple of your guys' last lives, and I was excited to meet you guys.
Yeah, man. No, it's
Amazing.
I was watching some of your live streams last week too. It was good stuff. If you want to throw some charts up, feel free.
I'm down, man. I also have a code, so if anyone here is interested in checking out Market Cipher, you just go to marketcipher.com. If you use code Amigo, it's 30% off. But I'm down to go over some charts. So can you guys
sure.
see my screen here?
So I think you have
Yes.
to share screens like separately. You know what I'm saying, Jackus? Like, can you?
Yeah. We are seeing your screen, but it's only being shared in your window. So, instead of that, there is a button at the bottom, and there is a present actually showing on StreamYard. So you click that, and then you click Share Screen, and then you just find your TradingView tab or whatever software you're using. Because right now it's really small chart.
Yeah, there we go.
Okay. You see
Yeah,
that
that's
now?
it. Yes.
Awesome,
And
man.
maybe instead of if you want to have yourself on the screen, maybe you can like in the window of you just you can put yourself in the screen instead and
Nah,
close the
it's all
chart
good,
in.
man. We'll just go over the charts. But since you guys are because Bitcoin, I figured we'd go over some Bitcoin, right? Is that okay if I do some Bitcoin charting on the
sure.
Bitcoin channel?
Absolutely.
Yeah, man. So Market Cipher, for a while recently, there's been some bearish signs, right? Like on the monthly, Market Cipher is showing this like red dot up here and this wave in this overbought territory. And so, it was lending credence to like some people saying triple tops and being bearish. And like, there's like, you can feel, like the uncertainty in the air about this rescue phase. I call it the rescue phase because we're at pretty much the previous high, right, from the last cycle. And it's like the Titanic sunk. We had that bear market. Now we're in the rescue phase of the Titanic movie. And it's like, man, we're just in the icy cold waters waiting for a lifeboat. You know what I'm saying? And so, Market Cipher's big time frames in many ways are still kind of aiming down for the time being. You see the yellow oscillator crossing the zero line. You see the monthly not looking too hot. So the monthly doesn't really have our back in terms of like upwards continuation as of yet. And in fact, the weekly indication, our blue wave losing the 60 line was a very concerning signal, because if you look in the last market, when we got that signal, when we crossed below the 60 line, that was right before our iceberg event. you know, basically at the almost like the psychological top of that market. Even though we did rally up and we took that high, that was pretty much the end of the party. So, you know, we're seeing that indication again. You know, back here, I sold all my Bitcoin, but, you know, the macro environment and things going on with Bitcoin today, I didn't sell my Bitcoin when this happened. I'm just kind of holding and praying to Jesus, man, not going to lie. And it's just like this cycle is different, bro, you know? So I held on to my Bitcoin, and it does look like the weekly wave is starting to get some salvation here. You see this little green dot on the weekly chart on Bitcoin curving up. Sorry about my phone here. You see the weekly chart curving up. You see the yellow oscillator curving up. And so we are kind of seeing like a grassroots campaign on Market Cipher on the weekly scale turning back. And so in to go back to the monthly, you know, we are over the plus 60 line. So even though this red dot is concerning, momentum over the 60 line indicates like runaway train kind of price action. Like you almost don't want to count the bulls out as long as the blue waves are over the 60 line. So, you know, you could see knives to the upside, just crazy shit when the waves are up here like this. If I go to the BLX chart, let's see if I can find it here. This is like the lifetime of Bitcoin. You can see like sometimes, you know, the blue waves go over the 60 and it stays up there. Like that 2017 run, we had a blue wave that really stayed up there. And there were many points in that blue wave blob where it looked like it was turning down, but it didn't. So if we're in a super cycle, then this could turn around and we could get more blue wave. But just some concerning signs to look at on the monthly. It seems as though the weekly is trying to save Bitcoin here. And another thing I use with Market Cipher is this drawing tool on the left of the toolbar. It's not an indicator that you like, it's not like a script or anything. It's just the anchored VWAP. It's a volume weighted average price that you can anchor on any candle. And I've been using these to great effect with Bitcoin. So like I slapped one on the first of the year, right? So like you have a year to date anchor where that's this purple line where you have a good volume weighted average price based on the entire year, you know, and look at how that was like our perfect bottom touch. You see that bottom touch right here that we got at the end of April there, like that wick down, like right down to the year to date. So that this purple volume weighted average price line did a really good job of that. So that's like your quarter one anchor or like your year to date anchor. I believe that this is basically the idea that Bitcoin's going to have a bullish year, right? And so we really want Bitcoin to maintain over $57,611. If, you know, this anchor is pretty flat, so we're in kind of this consolidatory, more sideways point in Bitcoin's, you know, cycle right now. This could turn up though with some bullish price action. But what would really concern me in this market is if we lose that 57.6K level on Bitcoin, then your year to date would start sloping down and we may see an extended downtrend. But as long as we're over that year to date, I'm quite bullish on Bitcoin despite the waves. So the anchored VWAPs are kind of guiding me here. Another thing I want to show is like some quarterly VWAPs here. Let's see here. Go into the daily chart. So far, I hope this is good. I hope this is good info for you guys. I'm just spieling my spiel that I talk about on my stream.
No, it is. I love that. I love that yearly.
Feel free to cook.
I'm a yapper, bro. I'm a professional yapper, man. I'm too good. I'm too good, man. And yeah, man. But
I
you
have
know,
some questions, but I'll wait till you finish your.
Of course. So I slapped an anchor on May. So this green line is our May anchor. Right now, May is a bullish month. You know, we're doing really good on that May anchor. May continue to be bullish. And then in June, we may get a little correction back down to that May anchor. I've noticed a kind of a leapfrogging kind of thing where like we get May, right? And we, you know, as soon as May comes around, we pump up to this red line. That red line is the April anchor. That's the previous month's anchor. So Bitcoin tends to kind of be a little gung-ho and kind of run without building proper structure on these monthly anchors. And when a new month happens, the market tends to be like, nah, and like it'll send the price action back down to the previous month's anchor before doing anything. So if I had to make a guess on what Bitcoin's going to do, we're going to go kind of sideways up until June 1st, and then we will get a fresh anchor that I'll be placing on this yellow line as soon as we get to this point. And so an anchor will be started right about here. Your May anchor will have come up a little bit by then. And I'm anticipating a little bit of a correction there back down to this current May anchor that we're dealing with. So, this is the kind of situation I'm looking at on Bitcoin here. And that would kind of threaten, even if this sweeps the high, right? We could take the high, but a move down to this May anchor would threaten the market with that double top kind of like fear, you know what I'm saying? So I can definitely see this playing out. But yeah, I'd say right now, it's not quite broken the bearish structure yet. It's working on it. We're banging on the gates, man. We're knocking down the freaking walls, man. Like
the Berlin Wall.
It's like walls like Jericho right now, man. But I have to say that these downsloped anchors, the April anchor and the all-time high anchor from the yearly high, they're still a little bit sloped down, right? Still a little bit sideways to slope down. So a little more ebbing and flowing on Bitcoin in these ranges would help to flatten out these anchors so they can scoop up. And, hopefully we get some scooped up anchors, and that'll lead to more further price action to the upside. That's what I'm hoping for, man. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, we're just kind of in this sideways flat anchor kind of range, scalping territory, right? But we're right on the cusp of like a swing long type of not much resistance overhead kind of price discovery kind of mode. So it's an exciting time in the markets.
Beautiful, man. I know I was a little bit, and then I'll let Will ask some questions, but I was a little bit concerned about the monthly as well. I'm also a Market Cipher enjoyer, have been for a few years. These guys aren't Market Cipher pill. They always give me shit for it. They call it, I don't know if you've heard of Vu Manchu, but they always tell me I have Vu Manchu. So,
I'm not the one who says that. I think it's Will.
Well, I get offended because Vu Manchu's like the free version, which not real.
They did a decent job copying. I love when people copy us because it shows that our strategies are legit. And at the end of the day, it brings a lot of people into Market Ciphers, like using the tools. They come to us to watch the tutorials and they watch our streams. And I have a lot of people in my VIP that, started with VMC. And then as soon as they made enough money, they got Market Cipher because they wanted to pay homage to the original creator. So I'm not going to hate, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is what it is. But, like, as long as people are respectful as to who built the bridge, like respect the bridge builder who built the bridge. Don't hate in the YouTube comments and shit about, there's copycats and stuff. It's like, what if you were a musician, and someone's copying your music? Like you would hate the person copying it. You know what I'm saying? So there's a little bit of that, but that's what I got to say about the copycats, man. It's like, you're going to come and watch my tutorials and subscribe anyway. So I guess I don't really give a shit, man.
You know what they say? It's imitation is often the sincerest form of flattery, right?
Yeah. But I know the money flow, for some reason, they're having a hard time copying the money flow, man. I don't know why they can't get that straight. That's the most important wave. But yeah, man, whenever you're ready, whenever you make enough money with Vu Manchu to buy a Market Cipher, hit me up, bro. Use code Amigo, 30% off, man. Or hit me up and I'll get you set up, bro.
Whenever you make enough money with Vu, that's hilarious. No, I do think it does help beginners for sure. I think it helps them a lot with understanding the market and what's going on. And because I know quite a few buddies that I've actually ran with for years, and they got Market Cipher out the rip when coming into crypto, and it helped them make some bags and stuff like that. So it did work out for them. I've always been one that's part of the old school crowd, so I stick to regular, just everyday RSI, maybe some MAs here and there, stuff like that. But I don't I don't really use a lot of the stuff that's on there. And I've looked into Market Cipher specifically. I kind of see what they have going on and everything like that. And yeah, I think like if ever there's an indicator, it's always better coming from the creator because they actually know what's going on with it than coming from a copycat, because you're not going to get tutorials on how to use it from the copycat. You're going to get tutorials from the creator, the person who understands what they were trying to create. And I think not enough people understand the difference between the two. The one thing I was wanting to say though here with this specifically is that I was noticing though with the price action when you were talking about the Fu Manchu stuff is the MAs, or what appears to be the MAs at the top there, seem to be tightening. And typically that's either a super bearish, super bullish scenario, but I would think in the trend that we're actually in, it's actually tightening to probably expand again to the upside and not necessarily to the downside, because you get those expansions and you get the contractions and the expansions when it comes to MA specifically.
Yeah.
And it looks like we're starting to tighten up again, probably for another expansion. It just really depends on where. I don't know what your thoughts were on that.
Yes, especially on the weekly chart. The RSIs are among the oscillators on Market Cipher B that are turning up, right? So we got the blue wave getting us a little green dot on the weekly. You got the yellow oscillator crossing over the zero line, and those RSIs are starting to come back up. Now with the RSIs, I like to look at the 88 level when it comes to bullish market strength waning, you know? And so we did lose that 88 level. It seems like we're trying to reclaim it. So, you know, if we can get some closes over the all-time high volume weighted anchor currently at 66,497, I believe, and we can get like a weekly confirmation on these nice little signals that we're seeing, I think we could get some additional follow through, man. And you're right on the tightening of the RSIs. Like the RSIs kind of go through these phases where they're gaped and disagreeing with each other. And then they'll go into these tightening phases where the price tends to get more volatile. And I think maybe an explanation for that is like, you know, when different oscillators are in agreement, it's confluence, right? So it's like when more things are in agreement, more traders are on board with the indication, you know, it's a more surefire move, right? And so I think, you know, like as the RSIs tighten, it's an indication of a reckoning coming. There's definitely a reckoning at hand for Bitcoin here. It's a make or break moment. We're testing the volume weighted sentiment, the downward sentiment generated by the yearly high. You know, it's if I zoom in on the daily, I love to pair Market Cipher with like very good support and resistance, whether it's like a volume weighted dynamic kind of thing, like these VWAPs, or just basic trend lines or Fibonacci's. Usually like the waves do a good job by themselves, but having good trend bias and good levels is like really important to me. And so that's what these VWAPs do. So you slap an anchor on the all-time high, right? And we're right up there. Look, we're like, it seems like it's kind of trying to bounce on that anchor. The anchor's at 66,276. So if we can get, you know, daily and weekly closes over that line, it's looking like a surefire move to the all-time high, potentially a little bit higher before maybe a little bit of like an early June correction. You know what I'm saying? Just to shake out and scare people into that double top kind of scenario. You know what I'm saying? I can kind of just see it happening already, like people talking about double tops and shit, you know? But I'd say that there's a pretty sizable move to the upside of about like 10% for Bitcoin. You know, if we can just get like a good daily close, like if today close is bullish, you know, that's a decent indication that we would go to the all-time high. So, yeah, even if we did have to come down back to the May anchor in the short term, like a little 6% dump or something.
What's the price on 6%? So what's the price on that you have?
The May anchor or
yeah, your May anchor, yeah.
the May anchor is so it's this green line down here generated on May 1st. This line is at 62,643. So in the short term, as long as Bitcoin holds over 62,643, May continues to be a bullish month, and it's still bullish from this like monthly standpoint, right? So we do have a bit of a cushion. You know, we got a good cushion below us. We got good upside above. And so that's where I'm at with Bitcoin in this kind of like sideways, but, you know, like bullish month. but we're still chewing through the previous couple bearish months of, bullshit, before we can get some real upside, like a nice 10% move to the all-time high.
Yeah, I'm still looking at that tightening there, and it's really indicative of a squeeze to a position that looks like it wants to expand. And I can't really see the market wanting. Well, here's the thing though too. I'm also looking for a pullback, but obviously mine's a little more, and I've talked about this on the show, about 3%. So roughly around, I think like 66, 65 is what I'm looking for. I don't know what that is on your MAs there, but I would say like I'm looking for that pullback, and then just like this higher low scenario starting to form out from the 57 to the 60 to the 65, 66. And then
Yeah.
it just continues to form these higher lows, and then eventually breaks out of this range, kind of forming a higher time frame cup up here that a lot of people don't see coming.
Yeah, I think that looking at Market Cipher B on like the hourly time frame, I do see a little bit of bearish divergence. It's hard to say. The blue waves are more like a directional kind of thing than like magnitudinal. I don't even know what the word is, but you do see on the 1 hour like a downtrend of blue wave here with price coming up, and we are at this kind of like critical level where some sellers might come in. There might be some supply at this level, and Bitcoin always does this, man. It's always so gung ho. It always just rips up, and it like ignores a lot of structure. And so like if Bitcoin did have to diverge and have like whether it was a bounce down to here and then up, or even like a larger correction just to sweep down here, we bounce off that May anchor, it could still look pretty bullish for us. So like I said, we have like a lot of support cushion underneath. If we did have to lose that 62.5 level, I may start thinking a little more bearish. But for the time being, I'm rooting for the bulls, with just keeping in mind that we're a little bearish divergent right now. Maybe there's some good long entries. If we can see some strength, if we do have to dip, I would look for some strength, perhaps at around 64,862 level, 64.5 ish, or if we lost that back down to that May anchor. Yeah. And man, sorry I was late, man. I was like out getting breakfast,
good,
and my time zone's like off, bro. Like I'm on mountain time. So it's like, or I'm not on mountain time. I thought I was mountain time, but I'm not. I'm like 1 hour off from mountain time. So I was like, oh shit, man. So I was like whipping the Beamer, bro. I was speeding through traffic.
Dude, mountain time's the weirdest time zone. I don't know what it is. I swear it is.
I hate it,
Tommy's on mountain time.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. The Rockies, I'm in the desert, bro. It's good, man. I stay nice and like fit and tan out here, but the time zone's all screwed up, bro. Everything's screwed up, bro.
Yeah. What do you say? You want to look at ETH for a second?
Dude, yes. Oh my God. I'm so glad you mentioned it, man. Because can we talk about ETH BTC for a second?
Oh, like, wow. Yeah.
I got so the problem with ETH BTC is like it has so much work to do. You know what I mean? Like, in fact, if you slap a volume weighted anchor on April 1st, like the quarter two, you're thinking quarter two, right? Quarter two starts on April 1st. Quarter one starts on January 1st. And so like you slap an anchor on that Q2 and it's like, how's the quarter doing for ETH BTC? And what's crazy is like ETH tries to come. It's like there's market participants trying to save this pair. And yet you're in such a strong downtrend that we don't even get to test any of these other quarterly anchors up here. We just get slammed back down under the quarterly anchor, not once, but 2-3 times. And so this is a very strong downtrend that ETH BTC is in. What it made me do is it made me, take it as a bottom signal, guys, if you want. But old FG swapped Ethereum into Chainlink and Solana, just because the way Sol BTC is looking is like it's Sol BTC is doing how we want it to do. It's like on top of its anchors. The anchors are sloped up. The waves look better. It's just so much more bullish looking. Whereas ETH Bitcoin is just like a shit pair, And so you know, there is some good profits to be made if you can get in and out on these lows, like you get some ETH, and then when you hit this resistance at like 0.04891, this pair here, like you could swap back into Bitcoin. But for me, man, like I actually, what I've learned with these anchors is, especially, and also what I learned with altcoins is like, you got to be a lot more pickier with the coins that you're holding, because the downside really bleeds you, bro. Like your portfolio will bleed if you, in fact, my portfolio is like 60% Bitcoin, you know, like I'm very Bitcoin heavy right now. And I'm kind of in this mindset of like, I want to swap. If I'm going to be swapping Bitcoin into any shit coins, it's going to be shit that's trending on top of volume weighted anchors that are aimed up. Like I want to see upsloped volume weighted anchors. And when I get some profits, I'll rotate back into BTC. So with that kind of mindset, ETH BTC is just really not for me right now, which is really sad for me to say, because ETH, you know, I scalped and held ETH through the last bull cycle, and it did me so good, man. I'm sure it did you guys good too. Like it performed really well last cycle. It was great, man. And ETH is important. It's got a lot of good things potentially coming for it. But do you guys remember after the Bitcoin ETF, there was a correction all the way down to the previous quarter's like volume weighted average price? That shit dumped after the ETF. So even if an ETH ETF gets approved, there may be even more downside, like before it proves itself. It's like I always use this metaphor of like the hero's journey. Like when you say you're going to do something, that's only the beginning, right? So, you know, I'm patiently waiting for ETH BTC to overcome. You just start having a good quarter, you know. Right now, like Q2 is bad for ETH BTC, and so, you know, there's that buy the dip mentality for sure. You know, and on the daily, like maybe there's a little bit of bullish divergence on the red money flow here. I definitely see it, but you know, downsloped anchors tells me downtrend, right? And so, like if you tried to save ETH BTC at this low, at this bull divergence here, Market Cipher saying that could be a bottom, and it does pump up, but then it just gets slammed back down because these anchors, it's volume weighted, bro. It's like you're getting slammed back down. You're in a really strong downtrend. So for me, man, I'm on the sidelines for the most part on ETH until it really builds some better structure. Like I believe we got to come up to like damn near 0.054 on ETH, maybe even 0.06 levels before these anchors, you know, kind of start aiming up for us, right? You want to see some anchors kind of sloped up. You want to see some price action bouncing on top of these as support, right? You want to see some actual bullish structure if you're going to hold it. It's almost like it's like a shit coin again, you know, which is really sad because ETH is like the #2 crypto, but it just goes to show how different the market's been, you know, and like, you know, how tricky it can be to balance a portfolio. I know a couple guys who have 60% ETH in their portfolio, and you know what I'm saying? And it's like, oh, you know, I'd be in hell right now, you know, if that was my portfolio. But you know, you look at Bitcoin dominance. Bitcoin dominance still killing it. I don't know what you guys think about that dominance chart, or if you got questions about the ETH, my ETH take, let me know.
I did want to push back on one point specifically, because I've been in the camp for basically the entire cycle. Similarly, that ETH Bitcoin is a piece of garbage. It's a piece of trash. I've been bearish on ETH USD versus Bitcoin for a very long time, but I view the ETF decision for ETH a bit differently than I view Bitcoin, specifically because in the lead up to the Bitcoin ETF approval, you know, at one point it was, I think 97 to 98% chance of approval for the Bitcoin ETF before, you know, the actual approval happened and before it went live. But with ETH, right now there's basically 100% chance of rejection, which I fully expect to happen this week, a rejection. But if everybody has already kind of positioned for a rejection in the market, it makes me question what the marginal downside on ETH USD looks like at this point. I will say, you know, I have no certain opinions on whether or not ETH Bitcoin is bottomed here. It might be. It might. To me, I could absolutely see it go down to 0.038 even before bouncing. But I think for ETH USD, it's difficult for me to view a rejection or the ETF decision this week as bearish when the market's kind of already priced that outcome in.
Yeah, Tommy has no he
Mhm.
has no dogs in this fight when it comes to ETH. He's
Mhm.
a he
I
is
hate
an
ETH.
ETH
I actually
hater.
like. I think ETH will
Uh,
go to zero eventually, but
Oh no, there
but
it
I
is.
won't. I
but
won't scare the hose. I won't scare the hose. But
but
I kind of hate ETH. But it's hard for me to be bearish on it here.
but at
Yeah.
the end of the day, the tech is lacking for sure. But I think at the end of the day, the way I've been viewing the Solana ETH BTC thing is Solana's been very volume driven. You can see that through TVL itself. That there's
Mhm.
not a lot of money staying on chain, just a lot of money driving through the chain. It's kind of like
Mhm.
an entry point that everybody wants to enter and nobody wants to stay, right? Nobody wants to marry it. They just want to visit it. If you know, you know. I think like at that point, people are driving through Solana, but the reality is you're still seeing TVL continue to grow on Ethereum. So I'm in the camp with what basically what Tommy was more or less hinting to, which is you're probably seeing a market that's already priced in ETH's downside from the ETF. Basically
Mhm.
disapproval, which in that case would mean that ETH might see a small retail reaction dump, but it won't be enough to really do anything, and then you'll probably see some kind of market reversal off of that dump, and that's what creates these scenarios where you see these bull divs in play,
Yeah.
and they end up looking like they're failing, but then they just become deviations, and they're still a bull div.
I actually have a question for the panel here, guys. I'd love to know your take on this. Is an ETH ETF rejection bullish or bearish for Solana, especially against ETH? I think it's a very interesting point because
So you're
on one
talking
hand,
Sol ETH pair, huh?
yeah,
Sol
and
ETH
I think
pair.
Sol in general, right? Because on one hand, ETH being, cast aside by TradFi, you would assume would be bullish for Solana because, Solana is
Mm,
not ETH. But on the other hand, Sol really isn't that different from ETH as far as what it fundamentally does as an asset. So I think you could just as easily make a case for Solana that it could be bearish, maybe bearish against ETH more so than on a USD pair.
yeah, no, I think you want, if you are talking about any altcoin, you want the ETH ETF to get approved, right? Like you want your altcoin to be deemed not a security, right? So even if you're Sol, even if you're gonna give up a little bit, Sol ETH pair in the short term, I think you want the ETH ETF approved, for sure. Yeah.
The thing that I think people tend to forget too is Solana already hit $100. ETH already tapped, like below 3K. Like a lot of these are really hefty areas where you would see bids stepping in, and you're seeing that. You're seeing bids step in at these levels. So I think like to just think that you're going to capitulate at a major level of support is it's hard to really kind of fathom, to be honest with you, on either pair. And even Solana, like I think a lot of people are still anticipating more downside for Solana, but you hit $107. Like, what is your expectation here to go lower than that when you're already at 170?
That
I
was
don't know.
brutal. Yeah, that was
I
brutal.
I
Wait,
don't think
are
that's a
people
possibility.
anticipating lower prices on Sol?
Well, I'm stating I guess the obvious here that I don't see much more downside for alts. I think a lot of alts have created their downside trends, have hit their major levels of support, and they are hanging out there and providing opportunity for people, but people are still fearful for more downside, and so you're not
Mhm.
seeing retail step in, which you'll probably see whales step in and force retail in.
Jackus, I think we were just prospecting what are the implications for Sol, probably more specifically against Ethereum, if and when Ethereum's ETF gets rejected later this week.
By the way, when we say rejection, what is the definition for you guys there? Because like there is a difference between delay, there is a difference between rejection, and by the way, if it
Delay.
gets rejected, if it would get rejected, they can just reapply, right? So
Right. I kind of view it the same as a delay. Essentially, it's kind of just semantics.
I think
Yes.
bullish delays, bro. Bullish delays. Go ahead, Jackus.
Yeah, I agree, Decker, because the way we saw it was BTC, right? So when it got delayed and delayed and delayed, it was actually pretty bullish and the market kept rolling higher.
Mhm.
Then it got approved. There was like the anticipation that it's the sell of the news. But ETFs are always going to be long-term bullish. So we saw how price picked up right after. And I think that's going to be the same case kind of for ETH. I think as you guys mentioned, the most of the sell-off is done from the anticipation of the rejection of the ETF. And as usual, as people are buying on the news, I think this is going to be the same. That when there is a news of ETF rejection, it's going to be it's already priced in, and it could mark the bottom, in my opinion. Just like good news mark the top usually.
Well, I don't even know if it's a short-term play because every time Bitcoin's ETF came up, the market went higher, right? And even though there were delays and you got some chop at the delay, the market went higher, and then it went higher, and then it went higher, and then approval, and then went way higher. And I think not enough people are understanding that context or that structure that was created from every attempt at an ETF. The market was bidding in a higher and higher chance of it happening. Think about that. Because when you get your initial approval, you should always expect rejection. There's never ever a case that I've seen where you are getting approved on the first submittal, right? But after that, your chances get better and better and better. So the market will start to bid in that better and better and better chance as the market moves forward. And I think not enough people are discounting or at least allowing that thought process in the back of their head. They're looking at this like, oh, denial, and they're looking at this one instance in time. The more times this ETF is presented, the more bullish ETH is going to get, in my opinion.
By the way, I still say that, whatever the decision is, I think it won't have that much effect on a price, on its own. I think it's still worth watching the price as usual. And most of the outcome is really being priced in or has been,
Yeah, your initial has been priced in. That's what your initial rejection has been priced in my opinion. And not only that, your support matches with the initial rejection. So in my perspective, your low is in.
By
I got
the
some
way,
dynamic
one thing,
support for you guys too on that ETH BTC pair.
But-
Like I
but
got a little bit
before you
of
jump in, one more thing that I want to add, and then I gotta leave you guys, is that what's pretty interesting, and actually Dan, my friend, shared it lately, is that the ETH gas fees were just 2 gas, 2 gwei lately, and that used to be like 30 just a few weeks or months ago, and it used to be like, I don't know, 300, 500 during the last bull market. So having the fees at two gwei is pretty significant on its own. But yeah, as usual, guys, I'm price action trader, so that's it. Anyways, back to you, and I gotta run, guys.
See you, Jack.
All right,
later,
see ya.
man.
What you got?
So man, I was slapping some anchors on that ETH BTC chart, like lifetime kind of shit, slapping an anchor on like the all-time high and then our low from like 2019. Interestingly enough, both of them kind of converge right at this low that we're at right now. And so, while, from the recent couple last quarters that we've had, we're in this knife catching territory where we're not seeing strength after the dip for like, we're not seeing the performance. We're just seeing the dip right now, right? But the lifetime on this pair does suggest that we're at some really big support. So that lends a little bit of support to what you guys were saying, that we may be bottomed in, but just recognize that when it comes to these anchors or any major support level, you want to see how the price reacts to that support level, right? Otherwise, you may be catching a knife. And so for me personally, I'm not bearish on this pair. I wanted to clarify that. I'm not actually bearish on ETH BTC, but I do want to see some strength before I consider swapping some hard-earned Bitcoin into this pair. So just something to look at. I see we're at that big support down there. I wanted to show you guys that, make you feel a little better.
So let's use your Fu Manchu for a second. I'm gonna use that a
Will.
little bit against you. I'm sorry, not Fu
Oh,
Manchu.
no.
My bad. I forgot Marcus
Come
Cipher.
on, Will. Come
I,
on. You know what it is.
I pick on Hagrid. My bad.
Yeah, he loves
Yes,
that.
there
Yeah.
you go. There you go. That's what I wanted to get to. So if we were to use this in Confluence, it's almost, if that continues to play in that directionality, I would say that's a bull div, right?
Yeah, if this blue wave does turn up here and you get that red money flow wave curving up, definitely a bull div. The only thing is, you're in an established downtrend. So I like to look at bear divs in a downtrend, right? Like if you were during this whole downtrend, if you were to short the tops of these waves, those play out a lot better than longing every little green dot that you see, those little BitBoy green dots
For
and
sure.
stuff. So you want to employ some good trend bias with the waves. Right now, the trend on it is down for the time being, but just with a little bit of overcoming of the previous quarter's anchor, just one quarterly anchor, curving up, a little bit of good performance on this pair, and I would flip into like a much more hopeful perspective on it. I just want to see a little bounce off these lifetime supports, and I'm a lot more hopeful on ETH BTC.
No,
I still think I just wanted to say something really briefly, Will, but I still think the most bearish thing about ETH Bitcoin pair isn't going to be ETH USD downside, but rather Bitcoin USD just appreciating more quickly.
Mhm.
I think if you see further puke in the pair, it's probably because Bitcoin like gigacent to the upside.
Yeah, and I
Yeah.
just want to say, like, I agree with your thesis there. You definitely want to see that blue wave start to round out on the other. You want to be on the other side of that, right? And for confirmation, and confirmation is important with trading. So yeah, if you're looking for confirmation, I'd say that's what you want to do. Otherwise, you are technically knife catching for sure. So I just want to throw that out there. That I do agree with that thesis. I do feel strongly though about this trend possibly reversing. I wouldn't tell anybody to knife catch this. Probably wait for confirmation, but I feel pretty strongly in the zone.
Yeah, that's about where I'm at too, man. Yeah. I have to head out here soon, guys, but I appreciate you guys having me on. It's a good show. I subscribe to you guys, and hopefully I'll be on in the future. But you guys are all super cool dudes. What's like the chain of command here? Because I don't really know like the politics of you guys, but I think it's really cool that you guys have a really good like team of close knit. Like, are you guys like friends like in real life, or were you partners that you met like in trading, or like how'd you guys come to be? If you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, no, I mean we didn't know each other beforehand. We were all kind of met through crypto online, Twitter. We were on a Discord, all that kind of stuff. So we met through that. Tommy and Max and I own the business. Will, Jackus, Wabi are all our analysts and whatnot. And we just like to get on here and talk shit every day, pretty much.
Talk markets with the boys.
Yeah, talk charts.
I think it's alpha as shit, man. I really respect it a lot, and you guys have good things to say. Like I popped in a couple times this week, and it was all solid, man. So yeah, I'm a fan, and God bless you guys. Thanks for letting me have an appearance, man. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on.
For sure, bro. Anytime.
Awesome. All right, peace out, guys. Thank you.
Thanks,
All
man.
right, see you, brother. Yeah, let's see here, man. I was just looking at. I was gonna ask him about let's
Pepe.
see. Sure. No, not Pepe, not
Crystal.
Pepe. Dude, I wanted to have him on first because he's cool and he's good at. I like his charts, but third because I needed you guys to get Market Cipher pilled, man. I needed.
Here we go. I knew that's
because it's fire. So, well, here's Bitcoin dominance.
I think this is, as a Bitcoin dominance advocate, I think this is a rollover, personally.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when Max and I were sitting up here arguing about, he was trying to draw this as a range, and I was like, no, brother, this is a trend. Okay. This is a trend. Put on the EMAs. It's a trend. But
it's a rounding trend.
It does look like a trend that's trying to,
Yeah, it's a rounding trend, bro. Like if this thing starts to fall hard, it's going to absolutely just get demoed to the downside.
Yeah. I think especially once you lose like these EMAs right in here. Like if you do this, and oh man, that's too good. That's
I
too
will.
good.
I think we're gonna do something like that. Honestly,
Yeah.
I don't know. And I've been saying this before on the show. I don't know if I think we're going. I mean, maybe we go a few percentage points lower than 50, but I don't think we're going significantly lower than that for a minute. But I don't think that's really going to matter. You know, if Bitcoin dominance is dropping from like 55 to 48%, that's a huge move on altcoins. So,
Well, for the audience too, just for context, look at rounding tops and rounding bottoms. Those are really good things to kind of look into. And once you understand those, you can kind of understand like where a top can occur and where a bottom can occur to high time frame. And I really think this is starting to round. You can start to see the pressure on the lows, where the lows are starting to like kind of like stutter. And now we're starting to kind of look like we're kind of topping here.
Study the Will's Outlook half circle.
Half circles. There you go.
Half circle.
I got the half circle on Bitcoin to the upside.
Hey, what do you say? 3-day MACD bear div. I don't really use MACD, but 3-day MACD bear div. Yeah. Hang on, let me get rid of this.
Looks like it's been going on longer than that. If you scroll out, those highs look like they're getting lower and lower and lower on the RSIs on there.
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely that.
Even on the stochastic up top, the stochastic's even showing lower highs too.
Yeah, look at that. Wow. Jeez, man. Yeah, no, it's definitely divergent. That's for sure. Wow. Yeah, you just need a little push. You need a little push to send this thing lower.
I think I know one coming this week. I think I know one.
What?
I mean, hey, we got a pretty big ETF decision for the King Alt.
Dude, that was my hot take the other day. I was saying they're going to approve it, man. Out of left field. They approve it. ETH GOG handles to 5K.
Bro, if ETH gets
every altcoin pulls a 10.
It's fucking over for alts. Alts are going straight south, straight north. If ETH gets approved,
straight north.
It will be so left, like it will blindside everybody, including bears. And bears are like, it was manipulation. If it happens.
Well, I just know, and it's so funny for me to like say something like this. Yeah, it really is going to be so funny for longtime listeners to listen to me say this. But I really think that we're finally in a place where ETH is, people think it legitimately cannot outperform other altcoins at this point. And I think you could totally see something where people aren't even, people are going to feel very underexposed to ETH if it starts to pump quickly. And they're going to be coping the whole way up, and it's going to be a very quick pump. And then when it's done, people are going to be like, crap, ETH's about to gigascend. I'm going to leave my altcoins for ETH. And then altcoins are going to start outperforming Bitcoin and ETH. That's the Max Payne scenario, in my opinion. But hey, look at me bull posting ETH, man.
I know, Tommy. I know.
Who would have thought?
Have you guys seen Soul, man?
Let's take a look at it.
I mean, good Lord. Look at this. Look at this line, though. Love that line. Been watching that for a minute, but yeah, this is the same. Where did I like that. I mean, what are we talking about, right?
It's an insane chart, man.
It's an insane chart.
That's a crazy buyback. I mean, I really thought that it would probably retest the lows a third time, and it wouldn't even do that. Man, it couldn't even do that.
I mean, they really gave you the simple IHS.
I love to see it stronger than the meme coins as well, Bonk and Whiff specifically.
Yeah, you're going to need to see majors lead a little bit. Bonk up 2, Whiff up 6, Soul up 6. Yeah. Look at Whiff, actually. Oh.
Fake triangle breakdown.
Deviation, bruv. Send it.
Man, the derivatives on Whiff are hysterical. because there, and I tweeted about this, there's literally no open interest to puke on WIF. The selling over the last few days was nothing but spot capitulation. You can pull up a spot CVD on WIF and you can see, I mean, people were literally just selling the crap out of their spot. Maybe that was because of Don Alt. Maybe it was because they lost faith in the picture of a dog with a hat. But regardless, I mean, WIF was spot capitulated last week, and price was only down 20 to 25%, which on a meme coin, that's really not that much volatility. So, no, I mean, there's no open interest to puke on WIF unless you get below $2, and then I would say, okay, you're probably about to gig a nuke, but. I mean, you're pretty comfortably above $2 at this point.
Yeah, if you got under here, you're cooked. You're cooked.
You're literally going to retrace the entire move up if you get below $2, but
Yeah.
we're literally 25% above that level at current prices. So,
Yeah.
and I thought I mean, it is encouraging when you see spot puke like that and price not trade significantly lower.
Yeah, I wonder if there's like a div or something here. Nothing. Trying to print a little hidden bull div. I'd like that. I'd like to see that.
I really think people are way over allocated to garbage.
It's just such a downtrend locally on WIF. You know, what did you say? People are over allocated to garbage.
I think especially on Solana, people are way over allocated to coins that. I mean, I think, and I was talking about this on the morning call today, like base coins, I think are probably poised to outperform Sol coins, even if Sol goes up more than ETH over the next few weeks, just because, I mean, we've kind of already ran through all the metas on Solana. There's significant dilution with the exception of like a handful of coins, right? Like I don't want to broad brush the entire Solana mainnet for tokens, because I am holding some, right? And I talk about them in our Discord, but there is a certain level of dilution, I think. And when people, if you're so spread out on Solana and then all of a sudden you start to see the native asset pumping, how easy is it to just swap your token back into Solana? Whereas on ETH, you haven't overplayed all of these meme coin narratives yet. You really haven't even had a true meme season on base yet. So I think that's just a theory I have. I think ETH meme coins outperforming Sol meme coins. Well, Sol outperforms ETH would probably be Max Payne, but I'm kind of less certain on realistically, Sol might outperform ETH until the ETF decision. And I've seen some people talk about the possibility of Sol ETH putting in a high time frame 3 drive pattern, which I could see. If you don't see that, though, I would get used to Sol outperforming ETH for a pretty long time.
Jay said, "What is flock to safety?" I think he meant flag on the safety.
No, he said WIF is a flock to safety. He said WIF.
Oh, I thought he said what? Oh, WIF is a flock. Okay, WIF is a flag on the safety. Got it. So it's like a foot. No, I read that completely wrong. Oh shoot! What do we got here? We aren't pumping influence based coins like Brett. Yeah, I mean, to each their own. Predictions on Roaring Kitty meta. What's his angle? I think that Roaring Kitty revived the altcoin market. I will say that first and foremost. I don't think it's just GME. I don't think it's just Roaring Kitty. I think he revived the altcoin market. And that's why I think this is only the beginning of the pumps that you're going to see. I don't think this is where it ends. I think this is the beginning, not the end.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue to reiterate, I think Pepe is my favorite bet for meme coins for a myriad of reasons that I don't want to state again. But I think that Pepe will outperform WIF here through the rest of the cycle, and I feel that way with a pretty high degree of confidence. So, we can come back.
I can agree on that, Tommy. Actually, it's as odd as this freaking sounds coming from me, because I'm not about those high cap meme coins. Like, I definitely think that Pepe will outperform WIF. I do. And I think that more in the scenario of how people feel about Pepe versus how people WIF is kind of like, it's driven by an individual. We don't have to name him. And Pepe is driven by a community, right? And I think those are two really strong cases that people need to consider when they're looking at these, and understand that community is stronger than an individual. And so the drive is going to be much stronger on the Pepe side, than I believe, than it will be on the WIF. Not saying that WIF won't go up. That's not what I'm saying at all. I think just performance wise,
I still think
Pepe will do better.
Yeah. And the comment on the community might make people upset, but look, like, the proof's in the pudding, guys. The WIF community was puking their spot for the last 5 or 6 days incessantly. So clearly a lot more paper hands amongst yourselves than maybe you realize. But we have been going for about an hour and 15 minutes, guys. I think this is a good spot to look to wrap things up. Covered everything. We had a great guest on, Nick Cipher. Make sure to check out his Twitter. We should have it linked in the description of this video. We will be back, of course, for another episode of Market Check tomorrow. As you guys know, we'll cover. I mean, it's such a big week for markets, honestly, that we're going to be working overtime this week. I have a feeling on Market Check, but a lot to bring you guys. We're super excited, of course, about all of it. NVIDIA earnings, ETH ETF decision. I'm sure I'm forgetting some other stuff too that we'll get to talk about later this week as well. But yeah, just a few housekeeping notes before we officially wrap up, guys. A reminder that we have launched BB Wealth Management. That is our hedge fund owned and operated by the Because Bitcoin team. That is a long short hedge fund. So we don't just go long. We are also capable of trading short when the time comes, of course, when the time comes. But as you guys know, we trade and invest in digital assets. Specifically, we utilize our experience in markets to navigate it in a way that takes into account both crypto's asymmetric or history for asymmetric returns in markets, as well as the investment risk posed in any market. But we're super excited to bring that to you guys, and we have more information communicated in the description of this video, as well as through our BB Wealth Management Twitter, and links to that probably in our Because Bitcoin Twitter account as well. Also, guys, a reminder again that we have launched our BB Academy as of a few weeks ago. The current price is $199, but it will not stay that way forever. It's a great time for it to be a discounted price, right? We are heading into probably the meat of the bull market. Some great opportunity out there for everybody, and you guys can get the opportunity to learn from everybody on the team, right? In all of our individual niches and styles, and the way that we approach these markets. But we do have that linked in the description of this video as well. Outside of that, though, guys, Market Check, like I said, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow morning. Typical start time around 11 a.m. Eastern time. We are live Monday through Friday. And of course, don't forget our flagship show, Market Talk, hosted by the legendary King Wabi. That is a Twitter space, whereas we are on YouTube for Market Check. Market Talk is a Twitter space, like I said, hosted by Wabi. We have some really great guests on there almost every single day, so make sure to check out that as well. The timing will vary a little bit different from Market Check, but we always communicate it through our Twitter ahead of time, so make sure to stay subscribed so you guys can be notified whenever we go live, as well as whenever we schedule those spaces. So yeah, a lot of exciting stuff going on for BB, a lot of exciting stuff going on for the markets. I have to say I'm super excited for the next few weeks and the next few months. But thank you again so much, guys, for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. And like I said, we'll be back for another episode tomorrow. But y'all have a great rest of your day. And of course, stay safe. Thanks again.
Real quick, before we close out, I am still holding Mog. Moggers never stop mogging. And that's pretty much
well,
it.
I need to see you with the Pit Vipers on one of the shows this week.
We'll bring them. We'll bring them next time. I'm telling you guys, like, I just want to close out with this. Mog is one of the craziest communities I've seen, and I can see it doing really well in the bull run.
They do have a very crazy community, and I will say that is usually a bullish thing for a meme coin. But that's all from us, guys. yeah, we'll see you guys tomorrow. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks again.